Alrighty, good afternoon, good evening. Doing the forecast discussion a little bit later here today. We had some storms rolling through central Alabama. Still do, but they're winding down. And hey, we are, September 17th. We've had glimpses of fall. Summer has retaken the narrative here of late. Let's talk about what's upcoming in your Alabama forecast. This is the radar, a little after 7 o'clock here. You can see these storms still rolling off to the south. Big drop off in lightning strikes here of late as these begin to weaken. I expect that to continue being the case, the trend here moving forward. The heaviest rain has been in parts of Shelby County, Talladega County so far this afternoon. So I will say this, definitely underdid it on rain chances here today. A lot of folks probably got some soakers they did not expect. And we're still seeing that in Sylacauga, still seeing that in northern Coosa County. Springville, over to Trussville, some good showers coming through there. Leads over to Pell City, an additional shower in that part of central Alabama. So again, I don't expect it to last too much longer. Things should be winding down over the next couple of hours, and then we will be looking at most likely a dry overnight. What about your Thursday? Let's start at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. We'll be looking at isolated showers possible again in the afternoon. To the extent of what we saw today, I don't think so, but given the fact that we had rain, there's moisture now at the surface, we might actually have some good pop-ups tomorrow afternoon. Again, I think if you were betting, better chance that you stay dry than see the rain, but we will have that potential through tomorrow afternoon and evening. This is the HER, so this one typically does pretty well in the short term. So we'll keep in there the notion that there might be an isolated shower storm. We got to the 90s this afternoon. We're now sitting in the 70s with those rain-cooled spots. 80s where it stayed dry. Warmest spot on the map, Monroeville and Demopolis still at 87 here, just past 7. Speaking of temperatures, tomorrow, Thursday, we're once again in the 90s. Obviously, if we have a shower sooner, it could keep us in the upper 80s, but I think most spots get to the lower 90s, and that'll be the case the next several days. Friday, I got 93 at Birmingham, 95 in Tuscaloosa, 94 in Montgomery, 93 in Dothan and Mobile. And we'll continue the warming trend right into the weekend. I think middle 90s are a possibility on Saturday afternoon. Sunday, morning lows be a little bit closer to 70 degrees, although I think for those who've remained dry, we'll still be in the 60s. Sunday afternoon, again, the 90s. Notice Monday and Tuesday, we might actually top out in the 80s across areas in northern Alabama. We're going to have a weak front push through here, and that'll bring in a slightly cooler air mass as we officially begin fall. More on the equinox here in just a minute. Temperatures on Tuesday will start out in the upper 60s, low 70s, topping out right around 90 degrees. So what about our temperature outlook here moving forward? Average temperatures here this time of year begin to drop pretty good through the month. By the end of the month, we've got average highs in the lower 80s in northern Alabama. This is through October 1st. And you can see for all the southeast, a slightly above average makes sense because we've been pretty dry, but our pattern doesn't look to change a whole lot here through the end of the month, though better rain chances could be on the way. Speaking of, here's a look at the WPC, 7-day rain. Basically averages here. We're looking at anywhere from maybe a half inch up across the Shoals region, Tennessee Valley, to about a quarter of an inch to a tenth of an inch of rain. But that's a better map than we've seen here of late. And as far as precip goes, nothing really telling about this CPC map, also through October 1st. So this is our dry season. We typically average about 12 to 15% of our annual rain for the year in these 2 months. So not a big rain-making stretch of the year here across Alabama. While we cool down here across the mainland, or that's what's supposed to happen, things tend to heat up in the tropics. We have Gabrielle, the most recent named storm. The chance of formation with 2 other tropical waves, about 20% over the next 7 days. Those are still just now coming off the African coast, but a slightly lower latitude than where this particular wave initiated. There's Gabrielle, latest here, a little after 7 o'clock. Central pressure there, just over 1,000 millibars. Winds have picked up, but look at how displaced the convection is. When I say, see where the center of the storm is marked, you've got a lot of convection on the northern edge, and then you got this band of convection well removed from the center to the south, and that's typically a sign that it's not quite come together. It's moving off to the northwest at about 14, 15 miles an hour. So, I'm going to zoom out and go big picture here. We're going to jump ahead to Thursday, and here's Gabrielle. And here is where I've plotted the upper air high, the Bermuda High. This is a semi-permanent feature that sits out in the Atlantic, and this has a big influence on the steering of systems across the Atlantic. And when something forms at a higher latitude, as Gabrielle did with respect to, the general tropical latitudes, it tends to get steered away from land by the high, depending on where it is. If this high was a little further to the south or to the west, this would try to steer it or push it towards the U.S. mainland. In this scenario, with where the high is going to be, this upper high, this will effectively influence and likely steer this storm, whether it's a hurricane or a tropical storm. I tend to think it'll be a bit weaker. There's a lot of wind shear out there when you have a strong upper high like this and other features, and tropical systems do not want a change in wind direction or speed with height. They want uniformity, and we will just be running into some decent wind shear, but the steering winds with this will likely slingshot it around the western flank of this high, keep it well away from the U.S. mainland, and Bermuda would be the area to watch for possible impacts. Here's the NHC track for Gabrielle. Again, Hamilton there depicted as where Bermuda is. And you can see most tracks keep this on the lower end, tropical storm to category 1. But hey, I'm all for fish storms this time of year. Certainly a good thing if it stays out to sea. So speaking of this time of year, we are approaching the autumnal equinox, of course, as you know. Earth's tilt 23.5 degrees. As we orbit the sun elliptically, we obviously change the angle of direct sunlight. So we're coming off of our warm season. We've had direct sunlight in the northern hemisphere for quite some time. And so we don't immediately cool down, even though we have the same daylight as in spring. In springtime, we've been cooling all winter. Radiation will the surface. So the ground takes a while to heat up. It also takes a while to cool down. So we are looking at a general cooling trend. And it starts with earlier sunset, later sunrise times. And just to give you all an idea, everywhere in Alabama, 12 hours and 7 minutes of daylight on the equinox, which is coming up on the 22nd. The official equinox, the exact moment where we will have direct sunlight all across the latitudes from the north-south pole, will be at 1:22 p.m. Central. And there you have it, sunrise up in Huntsville, 6:34, sunset, 6:42. The earliest sunrise will be up at 6:30 with sunset, 6:37. And the latest sunrise and sunset will be over in Mobile, where sunrise is at 6:40, sunset at 6:48. The days get shorter and shorter from here on out, or I should say daylight hours, not necessarily the days. So that's your forecast discussion here. Got a vacation coming up, so we will not be here for a couple of days. But of course, you know, the period looks to be rather quiet all in all. We'll keep an eye on Gabrielle. Keep an eye on increasing rain chances next week. Otherwise, the dry season is here in full force. One other note, average last day of 90 degrees is sometime in late September. So we're not out of that realm just yet. But once you get in October, we start to see a much bigger cool down. We'll keep an eye out for any changing trends. Y'all have a great day.